workplace dignity, what the actual status quo is, how that harms women, how that's comparatively better, and how we create better working environments for women, revisiting a lot of Hugh's material that CEO decided it didn't feel like responding to. Secondly, again, on the same theme, because this is a broad theme with regard to how they interact with Hugh's speech, talking about mainstream economic opportunities, how all of the aims that OO have with regard to economic integration more widely, and CEO seem to share those aims, are better on our side of the house when we get more purchase in the mainstream economy. And then finally, I want to talk about social change and how on a macro scale we get a variety of benefits, again, to which we don't hear much response. Most rebuttal interwoven 4 things that stand out. 1. Genuinely, as we told them in a POI, we are confused by what OO understand to be the incentive structure facing women here. Because they tell us that women are, A, doing quite well under the status quo. We don't think that's true, but they think it's true, right? And B, that wages in these areas will be incredibly bad, but then C, that women are going to flock to these areas such that structural incentives for women elsewhere in the economy are completely undermined. Those just can't all be true. And then when we ask for an explicit explanation of this, they just say, because you're telling women to go there. We don't think women are stupid. Like, if wages are that much worse in these places, and if women are doing so well in the status quo, they presumably won't go there. This gets even more confusing because CEO tell us these areas are going to fail, even though OO tell us that women are going to flock through to them. We don't understand what they think women are like. Secondly, let's just note that they want to base this debate in the most idealized possible version of the world. Their status quo is like a quite idealistic analysis of how like Sweden works, right? They don't engage with the developing world. They don't engage with the fact that the kinds of benefits that they claim women have under the status quo just don't exist in much of the world. They don't engage, for example, with the fact that there are countries where it is literally not possible for women to work alongside men, where this is a choice between working only in domestic labor or working in the mainstream economy. We can comparatively talk about what applies to more women, what is most relevant. Third, on this idea that we get from CO about segregation, so some about segregation, like women are in different spheres now, so they look really different. 1, this is the status quo in lots of countries. You have extremely strong perceptions of like which genders are which and how those are divided. We don't know how. This is not like meaningfully better. Secondly, we do think men interact with these zones. Hugh tells you men will be customers in these zones. They can walk through. This idea that like you'll have to commute really far to get there or something doesn't hold any weight. They're parts of cities. They're zones within cities. Men will interact with them. This will not be entirely segregated. 3, we tell you get other empowerment in the mainstream economy that has strong signaling effects. Finally, they tell you that this is really bad because some women want to work in the home. That's fine. Nobody propped forcing women to work in these industries because they comparatively give them more choice. Comparatively, we create more palatable and better and more liberating working environments and better economic outcomes in the long term. If they want choice for women, they get it on our side of the house. 1, workplace dignity. Hugh tells you that it is the case, much though they would like to say the contrary because there are some female CEOs, as Tash tells you, those are a vanishingly small number. She's correct about that. Hugh tells you that lots of these workplaces are incredibly male-dominated in ways which are incredibly harmful to women. This means men get promoted significantly more. It means men are constantly telling women what to do. It means men have license to harass those women, to tell them what they can wear. It means that men are able to sexually assault those women, as OG tells us, and get away with it. This is constantly demeaning. They want to talk about signaling effects. Those signaling effects occur when women, every time they enter mainstream industry, are constantly forced to be subordinate to their male co-workers, regardless of their level of skill. Those signaling effects occur in the status quo. They simply don't engage with that. Tokenism happens on their side of the house. We, on comparative, get women owning businesses where men go to buy things, women actually running places, women getting more capital acquisition and making major investments, women becoming serious players in the economy of these nations. We think that is a comparatively better signaling effect to show to children. Finally, there are basic legal reasons, or basic privileges that you will get from working in one of these places as a woman that they don't engage with that are important. For example, it is much less likely that necessarily they cannot discriminate against women in terms of promotions. Secondarily, they cannot discriminate on the basis of maternity leave, right? Because all women under the status quo are presumed to be potential liabilities in terms of maternity leave because they might get pregnant regardless of what they tell you. That is not true in these industries. Like that is necessarily a risk that you take with any employee, so those kinds of discrimination do not occur. We think that you get much better signaling at the point which you have men seeing women doing well through these industries. We don't necessarily care about signaling effect that much in terms of like it doesn't impact those harms very well, right? But insofar as that's in the debate, we think it looks much better on our side of the house. Secondly, in terms of mainstream economics, some dissonant stuff from up on this, right? They tell us that rich women are the ones who get these jobs, that rich women will rich women will like take these jobs and that'll screw working class women over. But they also tell us that rich women are doing really well in the status quo. If that's true, we think these jobs are particularly useful, as he tells you, to like working class urban women, the kind who don't have access to low-wage jobs in the status quo because those jobs are like stereotypically male. Like manual labor is very stereotypically male. That means working class women often never get a foot on the rung of employment. They never get to advance. They never get promotions. They never get to accumulate savings. They do in our side of the house. She tells you, secondly, that you get more investment. Women now have startup capital. They're able to start their own businesses in the mainstream economy, if that's what OO or CO want. They're able to have those businesses because they have a greater pool of capital. They're able to therefore run businesses in the mainstream economy. You get all of those benefits. More to say on this, but go.
Okay, so when this is introduced, women will likely go there because they're told you should go work there. If they're then underpaid, they can't point to a man in that job to say, I'm being underpaid comparatively. But you harm everyone else in every other job outside, because those people are told, you shouldn't be working here anyway, you should only work in that industry. Disincentivize those women to join any job.
Thank you so much, thank you. Two things on this. One, still don't understand why they go there if it's so bad for them. Again, we tell them to is not sufficient. Secondarily, they can still point to their male counterparts in the same industry, in other parts of the economy. They can still compare their wages. There's no reason to do that. Finally, on the mainstream economy, Hugh tells you women are more likely to get jobs, which means they're more likely to develop skills, they're more likely to develop business acumen, they're more likely to develop TCDs. That all helps them get the mainstream economic purchase that OO and CO so desperately want. Finally, on social change. One, they tell you affirmative action is great. There are lots of countries where gender segregation is such that affirmative action is not only impossible, but also integrated workplaces are in fact impossible. Saudi Arabia uses special economic zones to empower women because it is in most cases not permissible for women to work alongside men. They just necessarily cannot get that benefit on their side of the house, much though they are desperate to claim it. It makes no sense whatsoever. Secondly, in terms of female employment, it creates very strong incentives because women are now capital actors for the state to invest in the education of women. That's why lots of Saudi Arabian women are receiving technical education now in terms of things like computer science, because many of them operate in things like tech support. We think that is comparatively a huge benefit for women who, when they are unskilled domestic laborers or garment workers, do not get state investment, do not get education of that kind. Third, we think you get political action out of this, as Hugh tells you. Saudi Arabian women who interacted in the workplace were at the forefront of demands for women to be allowed to drive. Those kinds of class solidarity, those kinds of melting pots, and those kinds of empowering environments are incredibly important in terms of producing positive political action. We could not be more proud of